So when I think back to one of my all-time favorite handhelds that you guys have seen plenty of on this channel, I can't help but continue to talk about it because there's just a lot to talk about when it comes to the PSP. Now this system obviously came out in 2004, so it is old. So many people are still so in love with this handheld that I continue to see videos and comments and views, even on my own channel, about people talking about their favorite PSP, whether it's the original 1000 like this, the 2000, 3000, the PSP Go, or even the PSP Street, which the PSP Street was not available out here in the States. A lot of times I see people ask me, oh, you didn't mention the PSP Street. Unfortunately, I always forget about the PSP Street because it just didn't exist over here. Now I've thought about getting a PSP Street just to kind of showcase it on videos sometimes, but honestly, they're kind of expensive and it just doesn't seem worth it to go into it. Sony did remove a lot of features from the PSP Street version. They went from stereo sound to mono sound, which is kind of hilarious with Sony being an audio company as well. The fact that they would remove something like stereo from their handheld, it's kind of wild. They also went ahead and removed the Wi-Fi, which, you know, nowadays I guess Wi-Fi really isn't important on the PSP, so it kind of doesn't really matter that that was removed. Overall, the design from what I've heard and seen is that the PSP Street is just a lot more plasticky, a lot more cheap feeling, but a lot of people still really like the PSP Street, and that's fine. Some people, that was their only version of the PSP that they had. So, of course it's gonna be their favorite, so I have no problem with people liking the PSP Street. If that's what they preferred, then by all means, it's totally fine. But for me, the winner is always gonna be the PSP 1000. Now, I've said it again countless times, this thing feels built with a very premium mentality. Overall, the weight of the system feels great. The grips that you get on this version only that you do not get on any other version of the PSP, as they all decided to go with the flat back for all of the additional versions that came out. So the way the PSP 1000 is kind of molded perfectly into your hand, and it just feels great overall. I also really like the whole snapping of the UMD drive rather than just using your, hand to open it. Also, I really appreciate that. Thankfully, mine still works really well, so I haven't had any issues, but obviously we know that UMD drives can have problems, or the latch can break, or something like that can happen. So I get it why people didn't really like that, but so far this PSP 1000 has been fantastic. Not only do I like to watch movies on it, I like to play games on it, and even listen to music on it because it is actually a really good sounding MP3 player. I did a video recently about the PS Vita being an MP3 player that I'll go ahead and link for you guys up there. The sound quality is not that bad for what the handheld was, and Sony did a good job with including that in the system itself. However, they didn't do a good job at marketing it. On the PSP series, you would constantly get marketing about what the PSP could do. Even the additional accessories like the PSP camera, there was a GPS option, and I think there was a TV tuner option as well in Japan, not here, unfortunately. But I have to say that overall, the PSP 1000 is just a fantastic handheld. Yes, all the other versions upped the RAM, upped the CPU, all that stuff made it a little bit better, but I still have to say that the PSP 1000 just feels the best to hold and to play games on. What do you guys think? Which one would you say is your favorite PSP? Do you have the memories of the original PSP 1000? Do you prefer its comfort, how it feels? Overall, I just have to say that it's gonna always be my favorite version, no matter what. Even if the other ones have more RAM and everything's a little bit faster, I have to say, especially if you have this modded, you don't even have to worry about the UMD drive loading. That stuff just runs a lot smoother. I noticed with Liberty City Stories, if you have the digital version, the loading is so much faster than it would be on the UMD drive, and you don't have to worry about constantly hearing that whirring sound from the PSP that it constantly makes. Now, if you go out and buy a PSP 1000 or 2000, anything, and it doesn't have a memory card or a battery, then there's multiple options you can get nowadays. I highly recommend getting the adapter for the PSP for the Memory Stick Pro Duo, and then getting an SD card so you can go ahead and mount a larger memory card on it. The other thing I want to mention is the battery for the PSP models, especially the original batteries, just don't really work all that well anymore. So I would highly recommend going with something like an aftermarket battery, but not all of them are created equal. The battery I would highly recommend you guys get is the Austin OS battery, which is this one right here. This is the one that has worked really well for me for the 1000 and the 2 and 3000 models as well, just make sure that you're buying the one for the correct model that you're getting. But yeah, the Austin OS batteries have been really great and actually really long lasting compared to some of the other crappy ones that you're gonna buy on Amazon or eBay. So keep that in mind if you go ahead and get a battery online and that it's third party. It's just probably the best option for you to go with. The other thing I would probably mention is get yourself a nice case for it, something you can house it in. I personally still really like the sleeve for the PSP, the one that it came with in the box. It's just easy for me just to kind of be able to put it in there. Yeah, you can't carry anything additional in there, but it's just, I think it's just perfect for what it is. I think just this, having it housed in this is probably the best way to transport it. For me, of course, it's gonna be different for everyone. Some people are gonna want a hard shell case or something like that. Also look into maybe getting the video output cables if you have an older TV that still has like the red, white, and blue, the composite component cables, so that you can output your PSP content to a TV as well and continue to play your games that way. So if you are in the market for a PSP, there's plenty to choose from. I would probably avoid buying one that's already modded because doing the mod yourself is pretty easy. And I'll go ahead and have a link down below of the mod that I did on mine. And honestly, it's not that bad. So people will tend to mark them up a little bit too high when you go and get them on eBay and stuff. So just steer clear of those. Those can be a little bit too pricey just because they promise to already have everything on there. But if you have the money to spend, go ahead and just get that. That's totally fine if you can go ahead and buy that. I'm not gonna stop you and tell you don't do it. But if you think that you're capable of modding it yourself, mod it yourself, go through that whole process. It's not that bad, and you get to put on there exactly what you want and not just extra fluff games that you're probably never gonna play. Let me know which PSP is your favorite, guys, down in the comments. If you still play your PSP or you plan on getting one in the future, or today you're just gonna go and buy one after this video, let me know what you're gonna get. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Take it easy. Bye-bye.